I don't think store-bought eggs hold much of a candle to our farm-raised eggs. There's just no real comparison. And the same goes for the chicken that we raise here and harvest here on our farm. We're really just homesteaders who recently turned sheep farmers, and along that way figured out, well, we can't eat lamb all year long. And so we raise our own poultry too, and it just makes sense for us. I'm Kyle from Triple H Farms, and this is how we do it. So our eggs are clearly different from store-bought in our minds. Appearance, taste, nutrition, all of it. They actually have their own flavor. Some folks call it kind of a strong flavor, but to me, yes, they do have flavor. That may seem strong to you, but it's just not bland, flavorless eggs like you might buy in the store. That's what I think we're tasting. That's what I think you're tasting when you taste a farm egg. It's the nutrition, and all that goes into it. That's what you're tasting. So look at this, rich, creamy yolks from eggs that actually live on dirt and grass and bugs. My family and I can taste the difference, and honestly, once you experience the quality, I think it's hard to go back. Grocery store eggs, when we occasionally have to buy them through the year, which is rare, but when we buy them, we just know they're not from here. They're just hard to go back to. They just don't cut it around here. So we try to keep our eggs in production year round. We've had a few gaps over the past few years, but we try to avoid it. And even during limited production times in the winter, there's still enough eggs to keep the family fed. And it's much the same with our chicken. We've grown out our own broiler chickens for about 4 years now. And when we first started growing our own, my wife Christy used to be a little bit intimidated about preparing whole birds, because that's how we preserve them in the freezer, was whole. And honestly, sometimes so was I, because it's hard to make a meal just for the two of us, which is often who I'm preparing food for. So the second year, maybe the third year, I can't recall, we started parting out about half of what we harvested. Some friends would come up and we would harvest together, and we would part out about half and leave half about whole. That worked out pretty well, and we really enjoyed that. Those cuts are much easier to grab and utilize in different meals and recipes. But this spring, I actually parted out the majority. I only left about a quarter, 25% of my harvest whole, and the rest of it I parted out completely. So I have bags of wings and legs and quarters and so forth. We do part them out ourselves. It's flavorful meat from birds that live their whole lives outside on the grass and the dirt and the bugs. And it keeps very nicely in the freezer for several months, probably 6 to 9 months. We keep it in our freezer, and it tastes the same, pretty much the same as the first day we put it in there. Things start out pretty simple, just walking you through our process. It starts off by providing 3 things: warmth, clean water, and good feed. I don't think there's a whole lot of science to it, to be honest with you. If you do those 3 things right, you're going to have healthy birds, healthy chicks. So whether they're future layers or meat birds, they all begin the exact same way, and we start them the exact same way in the same brooder. A few years ago, we started our first batch. We thought we were prepared. We read all the books. We'd watched a lot of videos here on YouTube and got a lot of education. And we'd raised chickens before, years ago. But we still inevitably lost a few birds through a variety of different circumstances and just got, I think, a little bit overly watchful of these birds. Nobody told me that at 2 a.m. when you hear these birds getting noisy that you're going to be very worried about them, and I would go sit with them near the brooder. And I'd be out there, you'd hear me out there with my flashlight and my pajamas, checking on them late in the night, maybe thought something might have got into them. You invest a lot of time and resources. You want to make sure they're safe. One time my wife found me the next morning asleep in the chair next to that brooder out there because I'd been out there for several hours that morning, kind of just watching them. They're very entertaining. But I was tired, so things like that happen. But that's when we knew, all right, we're really farmers out here. We're watching these animals all night, out here with flashlights and pajamas and just, but that's what you do as a farmer. Take care of animals. They're important, and we want to make sure they're safe and secure and well taken care of until they're one bad day. And after 3 or 4 weeks, depending on the weather or when you started them in the year, they graduate to outdoor life. We get them out of the brooder and we separate our broilers from our layers, and they go their separate ways. And that's where the real magic starts to happen. So the poults are getting big. We've got about 25 or 30 of them in here now. So this setup has been our classroom for several years. It's secure, predator-proof, serves for easy daily management. We went through several flocks in this coop, and these hens through those years have taught us everything we need to know, or we think we need to know about hens, chicken behavior, and what works here in Tennessee weather, and what works for our management style and our routines. These girls essentially free range in this coop. They eat bugs, scratch around in dirt, kind of live the chicken life that we believe they should be living. And we believe that life shows up in every single egg that we bring into the house and every egg that we share with our family and friends. So occasionally we provide our hens with supplements, various supplements. We'll provide them with food waste from the kitchen instead of throwing it away. If it's safe for the chickens, we'll bring it out here and feed it to them. We've fed them all types of food products over the years, and they certainly appreciate that. We provided them store-bought products like mealworms and oyster shell for their eggs. Lately we've been trying this GrubTerra product. It's an American company that produces these black fly larvae very naturally. Has very high protein, very high calcium in it, which is great for your eggs. It's going to produce harder shells. It's going to produce deeper yolks. And when the chickens get as excited as they are about a supplement, we certainly get excited about it. And that's what it looks like. Just little grubs. One of the great things about using supplements with your poultry is they like them. And as we let them out to explore beyond the confines of their coop occasionally, it's a great way to round them back up into the safety of their coop. You just rattle that bucket or that bag, and they tend to come pretty quickly back into the coop. Now they're going to accumulate there as the sun goes down anyway. But if you want to get them in there a little bit sooner, there's not much better way than to have them comfortable and used to some type of supplement to their food program. And you just rattle that bag and you'll see they come a-running. Our meat birds live completely different lives from grocery store chickens. Cornish cross are what we raise. They're out on fresh grass, dirt every single day. We rotate them around, and they really flourish out there, and they grow incredibly fast. Again, not hard, it's not complicated. We move them, and you're going to want to move them because you're putting all that food to them. There's a lot of waste, and they're standing in it, and you're going to want to move them every day. And sometimes we move them a couple times a day, morning and evening, just to get them off their waste and onto fresh grass and fresh bugs. They stay a little cleaner that way. Having their morning breakfast. This will be one of the last mornings that they eat out of this trough. And so I've been putting about half their food just in the grass, which is where chickens find their food. He's going to move them to the next tractor, which is a little more open range kind of pasture tractor. Most of the food will go on the ground. Processing day is never easy, but it's very satisfying work. The harvest, that reward for all that work you put in. And we do all that ourselves. It's clean, I think, it's quick, and it's very respectful. We know every bird in our freezer lived a full, we know every bird in our freezer lived well. And the difference in the flavor, as I mentioned earlier, is incredible and worth it, we think. It's not about the saving $1 or a nickel or a quarter. It's about raising those birds out on our farm, our grass, our pastures, and knowing what they did from the time they were born till the time we harvested them. And we appreciate that process. And it adds to the mix here at Triple H Farms. I think we just enjoy raising poultry. That's what we've come to realize. It complements our farm very nicely. It complements kind of the management style we have, and we enjoy all of that. Every egg and every package of chicken has a story because we live that story. We were part of that story. Every package of eggs I share with friends and family, they know I produce those eggs on my farm, and that's just a really cool feeling, very satisfying. It makes the whole experience of our farm richer and fuller, very satisfying. The nutrition from our eggs and meat lives on in all of us, you could say. Our family and our friends, that's pretty cool. Circle of life that we're blessed to be part of. And it's just satisfying to know we do it all ourselves. And it's not that complicated. It's not that hard. Don't be intimidated by it if you decide to get into it. I would encourage you to try it out. Now you've seen that our layers are still in their initial coop that we built when we first moved to this house a decade or so ago. And we've really enjoyed that coop. It's right within view of the window in our kitchen, so we can look out there and see the chickens and the coop and make sure everything's safe. We've really enjoyed it, learned a lot from it. Don't plan to get rid of that coop. We'll continue to use it as a future brooder, which we used it for this year. But we definitely want to work next spring toward a mobile configuration, and so we can put more birds out on our pasture, out in the grass, and That's the plan. Man, if you're thinking about raising your own food, beyond vegetables, obviously, which are probably somewhat easiest, poultry's a great place to start. And if you're on a similar journey to us, stick around. We're going to be sharing some of those aspects, but there's a ton of information out there on YouTube. I'm not going to produce a lot of videos on our poultry, but I'm happy to answer questions. But there's a lot of folks that are far more expert at it than I am here on YouTube and other places. So I would ask you to seek that out. Next spring, I am going to share our integration experiment. What I mean by that is what I discussed earlier, is kind of getting our layer hens out on pasture, getting them mobile so I can move them around. I don't know what that'll look like, but I'll look forward to sharing with you however we work through that. This is Our Sheep Biz Life here at Triple H Farms. I'm Kyle, and I look forward to seeing you around.